Ilana Lydia, and I'm the Artistic Director of B3 Theater.
Hi, I'm Kayla Cavieres, and I am a company member for B3.
Hi, everyone. I am JP Clemente. I am the new Associate Artistic Director for B3 Theater.
How did B3's Reason to Be published play project come about?
Well, JP Clemente and I were trying to discuss what B3 stands for. And one of the things that we came up with was inclusiveness. And we thought that if we could find a way to be extra inclusive in the determining factor for which artists we bring in, that would be ideal.
We needed to find some sort of clarity on where we wanted to go. We know that we as artists needed to go someplace and adjust to what's been happening in the world around us. That brings us to the we, right? It's we are all inclusive, that we are all artists and that we are all in this together to find our voices, to be able to find the way to support our theater and the thing that we love the most. I think people are passionate about a lot of things. And when we're passionate about a common thing, we naturally just gravitate towards one another. The trick, though, is knowing what to gravitate to, right? And, you know, are we gravitating towards something that's purely for our pleasure? And that's great, you know, but are we also gravitating towards something that's greater than ourselves? Very fortunate that I know many people that believe that theater is greater than any of us. And it supplies what is essential, you know, and not the other way around.
What's changed since the initial idea of the Reason to Be with B3 Theater? Like what has it evolved into?
Well, you know, like any endeavor, it's always an evolution, right? It is constantly changing. And the ideas that were floating in my head were just that, and they become nothing unless I share it with people, you know. And out of that evolution comes so many things. And, you know, I'm thankful for you. I'm thankful for B3 Theater to say, let's investigate this. What can we do with it, you know? And from that inception of an idea to it being actualized and realized, and then also growing, it's like, now we're doing a workshop for dialect coaching, right? Now we're investigating on how we could record things and present it in a virtual way, since we can't do it on a live stage. So I think that's what's happened. It's just evolving, and it's this wonderful birth and growth that's happening with this artistic endeavor, you know.
What's the experimental nature of Reason to Be?
Well, I would say the most experimental thing is the choosing of the talent, because even in a traditional sense where you get auditions and then you get cast, there's still certain elements which are important in the casting. For example, if you had a Queen Elizabeth I, chances are good that you would cast a female. So in our production, a male or a female could play Elizabeth I.
How will the directors aid their actors?
That's a good question. I talked with Van, who seemed to want to give an orientation at the beginning, but then not give too much in the way of specific direction during the show. What's the most exciting part of Paradise Street to you?
Well, you know, there were a lot of plays that were submitted to us, you know, and how we came to the selection process was generated randomly. But I was very happy, you know, that this play was selected, simply because it has the voice of an author that I didn't know. Also speaks of change and the resilience to that change and the fear of that change, and the reminder of how change should happen and can happen. I think that's really you know, what drew me to it. You know, it's about change, right? And we see the resistance to change happening now with the pandemic. Wear a mask, don't wear a mask, social distance, no social distance, you know, and our climate is changing. Our neighborhood, like this neighborhood in Liverpool, is changing. And it's about how these people are adapting, accepting, or rejecting those changes. And it's very similar to what we're going through now, you know, in a sense, where change is a frightening thing and it's going into the unknown. And do we have all the facts? And what I love about the play is history kind of appears and says, hello, I'm history now, and I'm going to talk to you about what's happening now.
I think is exciting about this project is that the actors as well as the audience are all going to experience for the very first time, and those are the reactions that are going to be. The fact that where you have actors that have no idea if they're even going to be cast in the show until the day of, and they might not even get the part that they were really, really, really hoping for. So everything's almost going to be presented new for the first time. Those initial reactions, I think, is going to be great because this comedy calls for it. Because everybody is just completely taken aback when these time traveler characters appear, and that's what's really going to sell the fact that it's almost like the very first time it happens, and that same attitude, those same reactions, that same thought process. And I can't wait to see what happens with that.
What attracted you initially to Paradise Street?
Well, I won't bore you with the long background story, but Clive Barker has been one of my favorite authors for a very, very long time. And for the longest time, I had no idea that he wrote plays. And when I was just searching for more stories by him, more novels by him, I found two volumes of his called Forms of Heaven and Incarnations. And he's mostly known as a horror writer. He started off by doing a lot of short stories, then kind of selling those as a package. And come to my surprise that these 2 volumes were each 3 plays that he had written in his time. And as a theater lover, I said, I don't know how I did not know about this, but I need to have them because at some point I need to do some Clive Barker plays.
People who don't know Clive Barker, can you speak just a little bit about what type of work he's generally known for, the horror genre?
Absolutely. He is actually known more for horror than anything else because that's what he started with. That's what he got his claim to fame with. A lot of carnage, a lot of flesh tearing, a lot of blood, a lot of disfigurement, and finding beauty in that. But also he had a lot of elements involving spirits as well as the afterlife, and more so hell than anything else. And if you still have no idea who he is, if I mention the names Hellraiser, Candyman, you will know that Clive Barker did the stories that inspired both those movies.
Great. I've just discovered his artwork, and I was wondering if you could briefly describe what it looks like, because it has a very particular look. His artwork is kind of arresting. So I was wondering if you could go into that a little.
If one did a Google search of Clive Barker's artwork, they would probably see a lot of the horror elements that he's well known for. Everything looks a little gloomy, a little maybe disgusting is a word that some people would like to use. I don't see it really as horror elements or in such a negative context. Everything that I've seen of his artwork shows more isolation, that these folks not beautiful, that there's some impairment of theirs, whether that they're disfigured, whether they are a monster, and they're all taken in a pose that's very much that they're looking for acceptance, they're looking for love, they're looking for some kind of connection. And that's been a big theme of his works for a very, very long time.
What made you think that this script was the right one to pursue for Reason to Be Play Published project?
Why I thought it worked so well for Reasons to Be is it's a very lighthearted play compared to some of his other plays in his works. And it's it's got a message in there that's not pounded over the head or doesn't loom over the entire play like some of the other like titles that we see in a lot of seasons right now. Paradise Street still shares a lot of themes of what's going on right now, but at least it welcomes a discussion afterwards of just how far have we gone from when this play was written in 1981 to where we are now. It seems that we either only took a few steps, or we have not done anything, or we just found ourselves right back to where we started.
What's the world of the play like as written?
So it takes place in Liverpool during the 80s. That was kind of a Reconstruction era, and Margaret Thatcher was a big prominent person in politics there at the time. And that has some resonances for some people with our current president here in America, or at least the popularity and the split divisiveness that the people who like Thatcher felt versus the people who sometimes like Trump would feel. So you've got that kind of unrest going on in the Liverpool setting. And then you have time travel, and the court of Elizabeth I just descends magically on Liverpool.
This will be a virtual play performance, correct?
Yes.
What does that mean in terms of set? Are the actors all going to be on set together, or will this be done separately?
Actually, it will be done separately, and there will be a presentation by our set designer, Stephen Floyd, and he's going to show a rendering probably of what he has come up and designed. His vision, but it won't be, for example, projected behind the actors. It won't be part of the play itself. It will just be part of the presentation before the actual reading.
How were the two design areas chosen?
That's a great question. We started with just set, and we thought, what's the one visual element that would help tell the story the best for the director? And we kind of went between costume and set, and then landed on set just because it's very helpful for an audience to be able to see entrances and exits and, important images that are going to be throughout the entire play. If you have a tree, for example, that's going to be on the stage, we want to see that tree. We want to have some idea what it looks like. And then sound was something that Charlotte Strayhorn suggested. She said, well, gosh, why don't you add some sound in there? And that seemed like a really good idea to us, because sound is a different way of getting at, what the set would get at.
What should listeners go away with a sense of from hearing the sound to Paradise Street?
I hope they'll be a little bit giddy. I hope that they will take the Christmas message. I'm not putting in Christmas music, but I hope that they take the Christmas message, which is one of awe and wonder and hope, and kind of put it on to the musical experience of this play. That would make me very happy. I think the number one thing that actors will take away from this experience is the feeling of experimentation, the adventure of trying on a new role without knowing which one, but being able to prepare for the whole script.
I'm going to add actually a takeaway that I just got from the last book club session that we had. So we know the popularity of Hamilton, and there is one particular number called The Room Where It Happens. And not to ride on the coattails of Hamilton, but we all have been affected by that statement, the room where it happens. As we move forward with projects like Reason to Be with B3 Theater, is that we are opening the door where it happens, and to invite people into that room where it happens, and to encourage people to have courage to enter that room where it happens. Because that truly is the rallying of all of us as artists and human beings to create something greater than ourselves.